Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I haven't dropped in about a month, so please forgive me. But look, we gonna pick right back up where we left off. Chapter 5. I need a vacation. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and finish Jeezy's book, Adversity for Sale, and we're on chapter 5. I think I need a vacation. That's what I've been on. So please forgive me, y'all. So yeah, let's pick up where we left off. So hopefully you've already, listened to the other chapters and you're ready to just keep it rolling. So we just go dive right in. So here we go. Chapter 5. I need a vacation. You didn't want to go to Alto. I knew that much. Everybody did. Alto is Arendelle State Prison up in Alto, Georgia, which is about an hour north of Atlanta. It's a female prison now, but back when I was coming up, it was for all boys and men. That's where they sent the kids that was charged as adults, and it was notorious. You hear stories about cats getting raped, beat down, cut up in the shower, and all that. And these were kids I'm talking about, juveniles. I'm telling you, Alto was no joke. Cats would go up there, kids, and come home hardened criminals. Well, after me and the homies tried to rob one of the numbers ladies in the hood, that's that's where they were talking about sending me. I'll be honest. That was one of the dumbest things I ever did or ever tried to do, that is. Now, if you don't know about the numbers game, it's basically like the lottery in the hood. Both my grandmothers ran numbers on the side. But of course, we didn't try to rob them. Instead, we tried to rob the numbers ladies who live right next door to my homeboy's crib. And when I say right next door, I mean that literally. You could look out his window into her house and see her right there. Well, because we were young and dumb and still getting into all types of young and dumb shit, one Friday night, about six of us pulled up in front of her house, jumped out the car with our little ski masks on, and tried to lay her ass down. We busted in our house with our guns drawn like, get on the ground, get on the ground. And I swear that little old lady pulled out that big ass 357 so quick. Man, we weren't ready for that. As soon as we saw it, we grabbed what we could and ran right back out the door. And of course, the hood is so small, it didn't take long for word to get back to my mom. And the next time I saw her, she was screaming at me like, "Look, Jay, keep this up and your ass gonna end up in jail." I knew she was right too, because it wasn't like that was the first time I've been caught up in some shit either. For years, I've been in the middle of something, stealing cars from the school parking lot, getting into fights, jacking car stereos. I was failing classes left and right and constantly getting held back in school. Kids I knew were getting killed, shot, and all that. One time with me right there in the car. Like I said, I was in way over my head. Eventually, I was given a choice. I could go to Alto or I could go to this new thing the National Guard had set up called the Youth Challenge Program, which was basically like a boot camp for troubled teens. Alto or boot camp. Shit, that was a no brainer. I was like, boot camp, I'll take it, no problem. I'll be there. In the spring of 1995, my dad dropped me off at Fort Stewart Army Base just outside Savannah. And as soon as I got there, I felt like I had made a mistake. Not that I should have gone to Alto instead. Hell no. But that I should have never put myself in the position of having to choose between the two in the first place. Because the Youth Challenge Program was no joke. From the moment you stepped on base, the drill sergeant were on your ass. Welcome to Fort Stewart, maggots. What were you expecting? A welcome wagon? Well, welcome to hell. It was like that nonstop. From 5:30 in the morning until lights out, it was jumping jacks. 5 mile runs, cleaning the brackets, studying, then more cleaning, more running, and more studying. And those drill sergeants never let up. God damn, Jenkins, you run slower than my grandmother walks. You want me to be out here all day? You better run, Jenkins, run. I was 17, and in my eyes, I was already a man in the streets. But I learned real quick not to even think about talking back. Say something or get out of line, and it wouldn't just be you that suffered. They have the whole platoon running extra miles or out doing push ups in full fatigue in the rain with everybody mad at you. I'll tell you what, that shit worked. It didn't take long for everybody to start acting as a unit. When I first got there, I mostly kept to myself. And I spent a lot of lonely nights laying in my bunk listening to Pac in my headphones. Me Against the World had just come out, and Dear Mama was so deep to me that I kept running it back over and over again. I didn't know it then, but I was really depressed, and I shed so many tears listening to that one song. Yeah, both of them was the shit. It's just me against the world, baby. Me against the world. And Dear Mama, when I was young, me and my mama had beef, 17 years old, kicked out on the streets. The back of the time, yeah. I know what he's talking about right there. All right, we going to keep reading. One day at lunch, all the guys started talking about how much they miss smoking weed. You know how that goes with cats who love to smoke. It was weed this and weed that. The way starving people talk about food, like, man, when I get out of here, I'm gonna get a pizza and some steak and some wings. Except with this, it was, man, when I get out of here, I'm gonna go buy all the Swisher Sweets in the state and smoke an ounce a day for a year. Everybody was going around the table talking about how much they love getting high. When one of the kids was like, "What about you, Jenkins? You smoke Optimos or sweets?" I was like, man, I don't even really like smoking like that. The whole table lit up in disbelief. What? Hold up. You don't smoke? Bro. Everybody was looking at me like I was nuts. So I figured, shit, I guess I might as well tell them a little something about me. Man, so the last time I smoked, right, I said, looking around the table, I was with one of my partners. Then I told then I told them how one night I've been out riding around with Goldmouth on the way to the club when I rode up on the suite with some weed I bought off of one of my cousins earlier in the day. This wasn't one of the Atlanta cousins. This was a different one. That's one thing about my family. At a certain point, everybody was hustling some type of way. So boom, Goldmouth was driving like he was hold on. So boom, Goldmouth was driving like he always was because I didn't get my license until much later on. And as soon as I lit up the blunt, it just started popping and sparking and shit. I figured it must have just been some seeds, but I missed when I was rolling up. So I took a couple of hits and kept it moving. We were listening to Pac strictly for my niggas, and I was zoning out high as hell. But then, right when I was about to spark up another blunt, I started to feel like the music was coming to get me. I know that sounds crazy, but that's how I was feeling. Like the music itself was about to come out the speakers of Goldmouth's Oldsmobile and snatch me up and drag me off where where I didn't want to go. I started freaking out and yelled over the music, "Pull over, pull over." As soon as the car stopped, I jumped out and started walking up and down the side of the road trying to get my wind. Goldmouth got out to check on me. "Hey, Lil J, you all right, bro?" I told him, "Man, I don't know what's going on, but I feel like I'm having a heart attack or some shit. I think I need a hospital." He looked at me skeptical. "For real?" I tried to shake the feeling, but every time I thought about it, it was fading. It would just come back 10 times worse. Man, for real. We got back in the car and Goldmouth peeled off the curb. He didn't smoke, but I guess he was feeling like, ain't no way my cousin is about to die on my watch, because he raced straight over to Taylor Regional, hopped out, and ran inside to get some help. Meanwhile, I opened the door and damn near fell smack on the ground like Leonardo DiCaprio some wolf some Wolf of Wall Street shit. I started praying, please God, just let me get through this. I swear I'll never smoke again, please. When the EMTs finally came out to get me, they hooked me up to some oxygen right there on the ground and started asking me all these questions, trying to make sure I knew my name and where I was. Slowly but surely, I came back around. And when I looked over at Goldmouth, he burst out laughing like, yo, cuz, you should have seen your face. I was dying, cuz. I was dying. I've never seen you that scared. He wasn't lying either. I've always been the fearless one in the family. But that whole situation had me scared as hell. When we got back to my grandmother's house, we posted up in the driveway and I started running through the whole night. That's when I remembered the last time I seen my cousin. I'd been over at my grandmother's house cutting up some rocks on the kitchen table when she walked in and asked if she could buy the shake. In the hood, it was common to take all those little leftover crumbs and give them to the junkie to get things done. Like if you wanted to borrow their car for a minute or get your car washed, things like that. I figured that's what my cousin was thinking. But sitting in Goldmouth's car, it dawned on me like, yo, I gave her my shake. Hold up. You think she put it in the weed? He asked me. I told him, man, I know she put it in the weed. He laughed. Lil J, the crackhead. I was like, man, don't even say that shit, cuz that's not me. She never did confirm or deny that that's what happened. But to this day, I'm convinced that's how it went down. That ended up being a real life changing experience for me because it made me really want to find my way out the streets. After that, I was even more paranoid about becoming addicted. I just knew that now that I tried it, even by accident, it was only a matter of time that I slip up and give in and end up being Lil J the crackhead for real. When I finished telling that story, everybody at the table was like, God damn, bro, she did you like that? And asking me questions like, what was it like? And all that. Then from the end of the table, one of the other kids who hadn't really said anything was like, man, I had the same thing happen to me. I was surprised that anyone had been through a situation like that. So I asked him about it. And when he finished telling his story, he was like, fuck me up too. So I don't really smoke like that anymore either. Please hold. I gotta drink me some water, y'all. Yeah, so after that, me and him sort of hit it off. His name was Demetrius. His name was Demetrius Elderby. But if you know anything about me or have ever listened to my music or followed my career, you probably know him by another name, Kinky B. The Youth Challenge program wasn't all morning runs, cleaning the barracks, jumping jacks in the morning. There were life skill courses and leadership trainings, and they had us doing community service and taught us about civics and nutrition. They also offered a path to a GED, and that was a big thing for me. Going in, I told myself, if I don't get anything else out of this, at least let me get my GED. That was the deal I made with everyone else too. My mom, my dad, my grandmother, even the people down at the sheriff's office. That was one of the conditions of me being at Fort Stewart in the first place. If I got kicked out of the program or failed to get my GED, they were sending my ass to Alto with no questions asked. When they put the deal on the table, my dad was like, this is your chance, Lil J. You better take advantage of it before it's too late. It wasn't that I wasn't smart. I was just way, way behind in school because I could never seem to focus when I was there. Whenever I was in class, I was always thinking about all the other things going on, like where am I going to sleep tonight? I wonder if one of my uncles is going through my things. Are we going to have enough food to eat? Do I have enough clothes? How am I going to get out of this situation I'm in and get some real stability and bread? Being at Fort Stewart finally gave me time and space to set those concerns aside for a minute and apply myself to doing what I needed to do. In the end, it wasn't even all that hard. And when the day came, I walked into the testing room feeling like money. My confidence was high, my uniform was hard pressed, and my boots were shiny. The program was co ed. And I'd be lying if I said there wasn't at least a couple of girls I was trying to impress in the room. So I had the motivation. I had the motivation. When they posted the results and I found my name and saw I'd passed, that wave of emotion was something else. I was proud, excited, relieved, and then proud and excited and relieved all over again. I was I was even almost a little sad just knowing how much it would mean to my mom. I really done it. And it said so right there on the board. J. Jenkins passed. I wasn't a lost cause. Then I saw Kink staring at his name. D. Elderby. Fail. He looked so sad. I told him, yo, man, if you want, I could really help you with this shit for real. Kink and I became bunk mates after that. We stay up every night talking after lights out. I help him study and he tell me stories about what it was like coming up where he was from. Macon, Georgia, a small city about an hour north of the Ville. Kink was from Macon's west side, and he was a Duncan Block gangster crip. I didn't know anything about gang life back then, but I knew about life in the hood, and everything he was talking about sounded familiar to me. The details were a little different, of course, but the outline was the same. The more we talked, the closer we became. When I look back on the 3 months we shared that bunk, I always think about the scene in the movie Blow when Boston George and Diego Delgado are sharing a cell. And Diego tells George, you have a dream and maybe you will accomplish it, but yet you failed. Wow. George is like, because I got caught. No, Matito, Diego says, you failed because you had the wrong dream. Talking to King, I realized it was the same thing with us. We weren't in the youth challenge program because we got caught. We got caught because we had the wrong dream. We've been thinking small. And even though we both dreamed of making it out and making it big, neither one of us really had a plan. I had the outlines of one: hustle, saves, and stack my bread. But I wasn't sure I could see it all the way through. And in the meantime, I was still getting caught up doing dumb shit like trying to rob the numbers lady on the side. Every day in the hood brought more temptation, more risk, and more tests until I went through that program. I knew it was only a matter of time before I failed. I'm not talking about failed like getting sent to Fort Stewart for 6 months. I'm talking about getting strung out and sent to Alto or worse. And for what? Sneaker money? To look cool at the club? To get a rep? Nah, that was the wrong dream. And I don't know if I ever would have realized it either if I hadn't gone away when I did. Those 6 months at the youth challenge program gave me an opportunity to get some distance from the hood, gain some perspective, reset, and take stock of who I was and where I was trying to go. I know they weren't necessarily trying to train us to be the best hustlers we could be. Okay. I know they definitely weren't trying to train us to be that, but I learned some invaluable lessons I, I learned some invaluable lessons while I was there that I still carry with me to this day. The first one, you have to take time to reset, especially when you're stressed. I know that can be hard at times, especially when you're really going through it. But if you can get a little separation, and shake up your daily routine, you'll be surprised about how your perspective will change. And two, success only comes from discipline, dedication, persistence, and commitment. If you're not fully committed to your goals from the onset and willing to do whatever it takes day in and day out to achieve them, you're destined to fail because half stepping won't get it done. So make a plan, lace up, set your sights, and follow through. As for Kink and his GED, he passed. He was so happy when he did and so grateful for my help that I think that's what really cemented our friendship. It was one of those it was one of those early instances that showed me that I had leadership skills that I didn't know I had. I was 17 with the 6th grade education, if that. Now we both had GEDs, and that had a whole lot to do with me. That good feeling didn't last. Matter of fact, the closer we got to the end of the program, the worse I felt. Typically, in that type of situation, you can't wait to get home. But for me, it was the opposite. My dad had been right. The youth challenge program had been as much as an opportunity as a punishment. Has been as much as an opportunity as a punishment. Even more than that though, it had been an escape. For 6 months I've been able to leave the hood behind, get out my daily routine and really work on myself. But the hood was still the hood. And I knew the same problems I left were still waiting for me when I came back home. And then some. Right before I gone into the program, I found out this girl I've been messing with was pregnant with my son. I got my GED and I had a little cash set aside, but it wasn't much. And on top of everything else, I was about to be a dad. As the days ticked by and the reality set in, I got more and more depressed. A week before the end of the program, they took us to Savannah to tour Hunter Army Airfield and check out some of the big battleships that had docked at the port. It was a field trip slash Army recruiting tool. And as they showed us around, they told us about the day to day of being in the service to see if we wanted to sign up. I respected my father for going that route, but I seen enough with him to know that that wasn't the route for me. I just didn't know what my path would be. And this is the USS, whatever the recruiter said as we boarded one of those big ass boats. I turned, I tuned him out and got lost in my thoughts. It was one of those beautiful clear days you get on the coast. Huge, crisp sky with a cool breeze coming off the water. The sound of seagulls in the air and the waves crashing against the side of the boat below. Still, all I could hear was an endless loop of questions running through my head. What am I going to do when I get out of here? Am I really going to go right back to living in my grandmother's house? I can't do that forever, right? Do I get a factory job? Do I even want to do that? And would they even hire me if I did? If I don't work, how am I going to help my family? How am I going to survive? How am I going to provide for my son? Real talk. Standing on the deck of that battleship staring out at the ocean, I felt like I was losing my mind. The only thing I could see ahead of me were challenges, more struggles, more temptation, and more pain. Even surrounded by all that water, I felt like I was standing out in the middle of the desert all alone, dying of thirst. The way I was looking at it, my future wasn't bright, it was bleak. And when the tour was over and they gave us some time to wander the ship, I walked out to the tip of the boat furthest from land and leaned over the rail. The water was much deeper here, dark and blue, and the waves crashed violently against the boat's steel sides. I stepped back and looked out at the ocean stretching out into the horizon until it met the sky. Then I looked back over the rail. If I jump, it will all be over, I thought to myself. No more responsibilities, no more problems. I'll be free. I watched the waves crease and break, thundering below. I bet it will be quick, I thought. I wonder if it'll hurt. I felt so worthless in that moment. All I wanted was a way out of the hood, some kind of way to show the world that I had real value and to live the American dream. And I could only think of one way to make it to where I wanted to be, and that path led straight through the streets. I would never have admitted it to myself, but I was depressed. I, I was depressed as I was in that moment. I was more scared. I knew what the street life brought because I'd seen it firsthand. At the same time, I knew that even with as much as I already seen, I was nowhere near where I wanted to be. Ever since I was young, I had this picture of me as a man and my mind's eye, successful, stable, and respected, with the designer three-piece suit, the rose gold wedding band, and a beautiful wife and kids by my side, standing there on the boat, feeling like there was only one way for me to get there. I knew things were going to get way, way worse before I ever achieved that dream. And that's if I survived long enough to see it through. I looked down at the ocean again, and time slowed to a crawl. I knew I had a decision to make. And for 45 minutes, I stood there debating what to do. It felt like I was out there for hours. Do I jump off this boat or do I dive back into the streets? And if I choose the streets, knowing where that leads, would I be better off just jumping out this boat? Back and forth, weighing the pros and cons, trying to decide my fate. I heard the whistle calling us back to the bus blow in the distance. It was now or never. I took one last look over the edge and then I walked away. A week later, I was back in the hood, and the only thing that had changed was me. All right. That's the end of chapter 5. Thank you for tuning in. That was a good little read. He got his little vacation at the Youth Challenge program. So yeah, um, make sure you go ahead and like and drop a comment. Let me know what you're thinking so far. We can kind of go back and forth in the comments or whatever. And stay tuned for chapter 6. Bye.